Hey everybody, my name is Collin Runge and I will be talking to you about the movie Insurgent, which was released in March of 2015. The big question that people are asking is this a feminist movie? Well, feminism is the advocacy for women's rights. So, with that, the death of Triss's family and having to risk it all in order for her to save her people from sure destruction leads Triss to take matters into her own hands. Through the themes of guilt and loyalty, the plot progresses, and while passing the Bechdel test and incorporating two women who converse throughout the film. So, with that being said, the movie kind of goes with this. Triss's family dies, and a box is found that has five factions um, symbols on it. And from there, the order of the capture of all the divergence from the people in power uh, caused the people, the divergence to be captured. And Triss and her boyfriend, which are both divergent, do not belong to any one faction. They escape, but before long they end up being captured, and Triss is ultimately the one who opens the box, and the message that the box gives is that they're not the last humans on Earth, and they were invited back to join the other people outside of the wall. So Triss ultimately feels guilty about what has happened in her past, and with that, it leads to her going out of her way and trying to make things right again. She ends up lying, cheating, and it ultimately takes a toll on who she is as a person mentally and physically. She is not able to go about her life the way that she wishes she could, and she struggles with that in her psyche. The second main theme seen in this movie is loyalty. Now, with the factions being set up the way that they are, uh, one person with one certain uh, characteristic um, is belongs to one of the factions. And with that being said, there's loyalty with the factions, and they also share the same characteristic as everybody else in their faction. And the main issue for Triss and all of the other divergents is they have the characteristics of all of the factions, so they don't belong to a single one. They are seen going to the factionless, which is people who deviate, but that's not the norm. People are not meant to deviate from their faction. That's very frowned upon within their society and the way that they live. And so that both themes, the guilt theme, which causes her to take the actions that she does, and as well as the loyalty theme, kind of progress the plot. Now, this leads me to the main question: is this a feminist film? Well, first you have to take a look at the Bechdel test. The Bechdel test has three characteristics. It has to have at least two women involved. They have to talk to each other, and it has to be something besides a man in the conversation. Now, when we look at a lot of films do not pass this test. There's not a lot of women that are involved with each other, and if they are involved with each other, they talk about men and their relationship problems or whatever it may be. So the main example within this movie is Trist and Janine. Janine is the powerhouse. She's like the president of all the factions, and Tris is the divergent who ultimately opens the box. Now they butt heads throughout the movie, and that is an issue, but it's never about men. It's always about the wider, broader picture looking at this box. Janine thinks the box is extremely powerful and has some secret message that's going to change the world. Now, in some cases it does, but it doesn't change Janine's world. It changes everybody else. And they talk about these things a lot. They really, the men that are involved, the only real important one is Will, who is Triss's boyfriend, but he never really comes up in conversation except for when he got hurt. And so this leads me to the next question: is it a feminist film? I do personally do not think this is a feminist film. I think Triss is extremely independent and extremely strong-willed, uh, but she isn't, by definition, fighting for the rights of women. She is fighting for the rights of all of her people, and I think that is very important. It's not just a one-sided, uh, quote unquote, sexist movie. It's about fighting for the entire population, everybody in all of the factions and the factionless. It includes everyone, and I think that's important. So that is the reason I don't think, even though it passes the Bechdel film test, it is not a feminist movie. Um, yeah, she has strong qualities, but in the end, it doesn't always mean that it's a feminist movie. Ultimately, as I said, the death of her family and having to risk it all to save her people from sure destruction leads Triss to take matters into her own hands, and through the themes of guilt and loyalty, progresses the plot while passing the Bechdel test and incorporating two women who converse throughout the film. It was well written, it was well done, it was well performed by everybody involved, but ultimately, I do not think this is a feminist film, and I think that kind of sums up everything.